Nobody is talking about what really happened after Raw went off the air last night, and that is exactly how WWE wants it. But you're watching Ring Rumble 1, and on this channel, nothing gets buried. So let me tell you what Seth Rollins just did to Gunther backstage, because when you hear this, you are going to lose your mind, and the people defending WWE's booking right now are going to have absolutely nothing to say. Drop a comment right now if you think Seth Rollins is the most dangerous man walking through that locker room today, because after what just went down, the evidence is undeniable. Segment 1 set the scene. Let's go back to Raw. You watched it. I watched it. Millions of people around the world tuned in expecting a show, and what they got instead was a slow-burn powder keg that finally exploded the moment the cameras stopped rolling. The tension between Seth Rollins and Gunther has been building for weeks, and the creative team has been criminally utilizing it on screen. The promos, the stare-downs, the unspoken war brewing every single time these two men have been in the same arena. And then Raw ends. The broadcast goes dark. The fans start filing out. The production trucks start packing up. And that is when Seth freaking Rollins made his move. Now, before we get into the details, I want you to think about something. Think about who Gunther is. This is not some mid-card guy who got lucky with a push. This is the ring general. This is a man who held the Intercontinental Championship longer than almost anyone in modern WWE history. This is a man who walked into every single defense with the calm, cold, methodical confidence of someone who has never not once questioned whether he belongs at the top of this company. Gunther does not get rattled. Gunther does not flinch. Gunther does not run. That is his entire identity. That is the foundation of his character. And Seth Rollins just cracked it. Wide open. Segment 2. What actually happened? Here is what we know. After Raw concluded, multiple sources, people who were physically in that arena backstage, have confirmed that Seth Rollins confronted Gunther in the gorilla position area, which, for anyone who doesn't know, is the staging area right behind the entrance ramp where talent waits before going out. This is not some distant hallway. This is the heart of the operation. This is where agents stand, where producers coordinate, where wrestlers decompress after their matches. It is as backstage gets, and it is also one of the most witnessed locations in the entire building. Seth did not wait. Seth did not ask for a meeting. Seth did not go through channels. He walked directly up to Gunther, got in his face, and from what witnesses are describing, the exchange was immediate, physical, and absolutely vicious. We are talking about Seth Rollins, a man who has built his entire career on the idea that he will do whatever it takes, that he will set himself on fire and walk through the flames if that is what it takes to prove a point. And Gunther, to his credit, did not back down. But here is the part that has the locker room absolutely buzzing today. Seth got the better of it. Decisively. And everyone saw it. Let that sink in. The ring general. The man who carries himself like Roman emperors carried their legions. The man who barely even acknowledges his opponents as worthy of his attention. That man got handled backstage by Seth Rollins after Raw. And the word spreading through WWE's talent relations right now is that this was not a work. This was not a scripted altercation designed to generate buzz. This was real heat. Real frustration. Real Seth Rollins energy that has been coiling up like a spring for months, finally releasing all at once. Segment 3. Why this happened. Now here is where I need you to pay very close attention, because this is the part that most channels are going to get wrong. They are going to frame this as Seth Rollins being reckless. They are going to paint him as someone who snapped and lost control. And that narrative is lazy. That narrative ignores everything we know about Seth Rollins as a professional and as a performer. Seth Rollins does not snap. Seth Rollins calculates. Everything this man does, every stomp, every promo, every outfit, every single word he says into a microphone is intentional. He is one of the most cerebral performers in WWE history, and if he confronted Gunther backstage the way sources are describing, it is because Seth Rollins decided that confrontation needed to happen, and he decided it on his own terms. This was a message. This was Seth planting a flag. This was him saying to Gunther and to everyone else in that locker room watching that there is a new calculus happening here, and you need to factor me into it. And why now? Why after this particular Raw? Because of what happened during the broadcast. Because of the way Gunther conducted himself on screen. Because of a very specific interaction that I believe pushed Seth past the point of patience, and if you watched Raw closely, you know exactly what moment I am talking about. That look Gunther gave. That dismissal. That subtle, almost imperceptible smirk that Gunther uses like a weapon, that says, "You are beneath me," and we both know it. Seth saw it. The live crowd saw it. We all saw it. And apparently, Seth was not done responding when the cameras cut off. Segment 4. What this means for WWE. This is the part of the conversation nobody wants to have. Because if what happened backstage after Raw is accurate and multiple sources are saying it is, then WWE has a very complicated situation on their hands. On one level, this is incredible. This is the kind of authentic friction that money cannot buy, that no writer's room can manufacture, and that fans can feel radiating through their screens even when they cannot quite explain why. The best rivalries in wrestling history have always had a layer of genuine feeling underneath them. Austin and McMahon, Rock and Austin, Edge and Cena. The reason those feuds burned so hot was because there was something real underneath the performance. And right now, something real is happening between Seth Rollins and Gunther. But on the other level, and this is what WWE management is wrestling with today, no pun intended, you cannot have top-level talent putting their hands on each other in a non-sanctioned context. Not in 2025. Not in a company that is now a publicly traded entity with shareholders and television partners and a global brand to protect. If this escalates, and everything about Seth Rollins' history tells us it will escalate, WWE is going to have to make a decision. Do they lean into it? Do they fold this real heat into the on-screen storyline and let it elevate the feud organically? Or do they try to contain it, which, as anyone who has ever tried to contain Seth Rollins will tell you, is like trying to cap a volcano with a coffee mug? My money, and I want to know where your money is, drop it in the comments right now, is that WWE does what WWE has always done with their best performers in these situations. They use it. They lean in. They let Seth and Gunther's genuine friction become the rocket fuel that launches this feud into something this generation of fans will be talking about for years. Because the alternative, trying to pretend this did not happen, trying to keep these two men separated and managed in corporate, is a waste of one of the most compelling dynamics this company has seen in a very long time. Segment 5: Seth Rollins' legacy in this moment. I want to take a minute here and talk about Seth Rollins specifically, because I think in the chaos of the story, it is easy to lose sight of just how significant this moment is in the context of his career. Seth Rollins has been in WWE for over a decade at the main roster level. He has been a Shield member. He has been the Authority's golden boy. He has been a babyface, a heel, a tweener, a champion multiple times over. He has reinvented himself so many times that his reinvent ions have reinvent ions. And through all of it, through all the injuries, through cashing in Money in the Bank, through the Shield reunion and disbanding, through everything, Seth Rollins has never, not once, stopped being the most must-see performer in WWE. But there is a version of Seth Rollins that we have only seen glimpses of. A version that exists underneath the showmanship, underneath the visionary character, underneath the elaborate entrances and the incredible in-ring performances. A Seth Rollins who operates on pure, uncut instinct. A Seth Rollins who does not perform danger, he is danger. And what happened backstage after Raw last night is that version of Seth showing up. The version that Gunther, for all his stoicism, for all his ring general posturing, was not prepared to deal with. Because here is the truth about Gunther that this locker room altercation has laid bare. Gunther has built his entire intimidation on the assumption that no one will actually test it. He walks into rooms and people move. He speaks and people listen. He demands respect and gets it, not because he has earned it in those specific moments, but because his reputation precedes him so aggressively that the fight never has to happen. Seth Rollins just made the fight happen. And by doing so, he has fundamentally changed the power dynamic between these two men. Segment 6: What comes next? So where does this go? What happens at the next Raw? What happens at the next pay-per-view? What happens the next time these two men are in the same building, knowing that what happened after last night's show is now the context for every single interaction they will ever have going forward? Here is my prediction, and I want you to tell me in the comments whether you agree or think I am completely off base. I think WWE accelerates this program immediately. I think whatever they had planned, whatever the original creative direction was, gets thrown in the trash or at minimum dramatically fast-tracked, because you do not sit on momentum like this. I think we get a Raw segment next week where this tension boils over on camera, and I think the creative team is smart enough to know that they do not need to manufacture drama here. They just need to point a camera at these two men and let the reality of what happened backstage inform every word, every glance, every interaction. And the match, whenever it happens, wherever it happens, is going to be one for the books. Because Seth Rollins and Gunther in a ring together with genuine heat between them is not just a wrestling match. It is an event. It is the kind of thing that people schedule their Monday nights around, that they buy pay-per-view packages for, that they drive hours to see live. And the fact that we now know that the locker room knows that Seth Rollins looked Gunther in the eye after Raw and made his presence felt in the most direct way possible, that changes the temperature of everything. Close call to action. If you have made it this far, you already know you cannot miss what comes next in this story. Subscribe to Ring Rumble 1 right now if you are not already, because I promise you every single development in this Seth Rollins and Gunther situation gets covered here first, gets covered here deepest, and gets covered here without the corporate spin. Drop your comments below. Who wins when this match finally happens? Was Seth Rollins justified? Is Gunther going to respond? I read every single comment and I respond to as many as I can. Share this video because the people in your life who watch WWE need to know about this, and they need to hear it from Ring Rumble 1. Hit that like button if you believe Seth Rollins just changed the entire landscape of Raw with what he did last night. This is Ring Rumble 1. The Rumble never stops.